Hello and welcome to Saki Tech. So in today's video, I will do a gaming and graphics comparison between the iPad Air, which is the latest generation iPad, versus the iPhone 5S, which is the latest generation iPhone. Now I think it's interesting to compare the tiny 4-inch 5S to the 10-inch iPad because these two basically have the same exact specifications. So I want to see if they perform equally in the graphics arena or not. So let's dive in and find out. Before we start, let me give you a quick summary on the specs on each of these guys. So the iPad Air has a dual-core 64-bit A7 processor clocked at 1.4 GHz, and it also has 1 GB of DDR3 RAM. The iPhone 5S also has a dual-core 64-bit A7 processor. The only difference is it is clocked at 1.3 GHz. It still has 1 GB of DDR3 RAM, and both iPad Air and iPhone 5S have IMG's PowerVR G6430 GPU. The benchmarking tool we will be using to measure the graphics and gaming performance is called GFX Bench benchmarking tool, which will push these devices to their absolute limit. We will use the latest version, which as of this video is 2.7.0. Alright, so I'll be running 6 high-level tests on each of these devices, but I will only show you 2 of these tests because it will be quite lengthy to show you all 6. Basically, all tests are variants of 2 main tests, which is the T-Rex HD, where a girl on a bike is being chased by a huge T-Rex, and the other one is Egypt HD, where an Egyptian warrior is fighting with various enemies. So let's dive right in. So basically, let's make sure nothing is running in the background. So double tap. Okay, so we have clean slates, and let's go ahead and launch GFX Bench benchmarking tool and go to performance tests. And from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tick the second one and the 7th one on the list. So these are 2 T-Rex and Egypt tests that are going to run on each device. Okay, and let's start at the same time. Alrighty. And let me shut off the lights and reorient these devices so you can see the whole thing better. There we go, side by side. And what you're looking at now is the second test, which is the Egypt HD test. So basically the Egyptian warrior is traversing, and he's going to fight a couple of bad guys. Okay, so that test was over, and now we have the results from all the 6 tests which I ran. And let's zoom in on these results and analyze the numbers carefully. Okay, so basically we're going to go from top to bottom and compare these numbers one by one. So the first test on the top, we have 26 FPS for the iPad Air and 27 for the iPhone 5S. Now the second test is at 21 on the Air, but it's 37 on the iPhone 5S. And the reason for this is because these are on-screen tests. So basically on-screen tests run on the native resolution of the phones. So the iPad Air has a higher resolution, so it was stressing the iPad Air more, whereas the iPhone 5S has a lower resolution, so the stress on that was lower. So if you look at the numbers carefully, the off-screen tests are all the same. The on-screen tests are better on the iPhone, which is what it should be. Now if you keep looking at the third test, you get 25 on the Air and 25 on the iPhone 5S. If you look at the on-screen test, the fourth test, you have 20 on the Air and you've got 36 on the iPhone 5S. And then the next test is 63 on the iPad Air and you get 64 on the iPhone 5S, which is again very, very similar. And then the final test, which is also an on-screen test, you get 49 on the iPad Air and you get 53 on the iPhone 5S. So basically these devices perform exactly the same except for the on-screen tests, and we explained that the reason that happens is because the iPad has a higher resolution, so the stress is more on the iPad when these tests are running. Now because we play most of the games on the native resolution of these devices, you could say that the iPhone 5S will give you better overall performance than the iPad Air at the loss of the bigger screen. But otherwise, technically speaking, they're exactly the same. Alright, so that brings us to the end of this video. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel for more videos to come. Give me a thumbs up if you liked this video, and also you can go ahead and connect with me socially on Google+, Facebook, and Twitter, for which all the links are in the description below. Thank you again, and I'll see you the next time. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, just throw them down in the comments section below.